Hey friends, Jen here. Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to Homestead Heal. First of all, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all the things. I literally love, love, love this time of year. It's crisp, it's magical, and quite frankly, it's pretty electric. My house is loaded with decorations and the exterior is traced and lit up with white lights. I'm not sure who enjoys it more, us or our neighbors, but it's festive, that's for sure. I don't know what it is, but I just love white lights. They just feel so divine and pure. And I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I sure do. I remember growing up, my dad always wanted colored lights on the tree, and I wanted white lights so bad. So as soon as I became an adult and moved out of the house and had my own Christmas tree, my own Christmas decorations, I've always had white lights. I don't know why. Anyways, let's chat about my favorite topic before we crack into today's show. Sauna season, infrared saunas are in full swing. And if you haven't landed on my site to shop yet, please do yourself a favor and check it out, my friends. You all know I've worked with Clearlight Saunas forever, and we run a serious sale during the holidays, deep discounts, free shipping, etc. All the things, it's all included. So if you've been dreaming about a sauna for your home, let's gift yourself the ultimate wellness tool. If you're not sure what to get yet, drop me a note and let's chat. Use the Contact Jen page on my site and just send me a note. I'd love to connect, answer all your questions, plus just help you with your health and wellness goals. Please do yourself a favor though. Don't put your goals off until next year. Make a game plan and just start making changes now and let's get cracking on it. 15 years ago, I embarked on losing weight and started in late September, actually. Everyone in my life, including my mom, thought I was nuts to start before the holidays. But let's face it, there's never a perfect time. There's always a birthday, a wedding, a vacation, and overall, my pants weren't getting any smaller. I made the decision one September day and seriously never looked back. I dropped 125 pounds, and it was one of the best decisions of my life. If you're curious to see my sweet and obese before photo of me about to chomp down a cheeseburger, you can enlighten yourself on the About Jen page on my website, actually. It's pretty terrible, but who I was then motivated me to become who I am now, so I am grateful. There's nothing more powerful than a motivated heart and a consistent wellness wheel. Trust me, I know, I lived it, and I'm here for you and happy to help if that's something on your planner for this next year. Anyway, back to saunas real quick. I deviated a bit. If you want to check out one of the tools I used to shred half my body weight, hop on over to my site, jenhellerlifestyle.com, where you can shop saunas, red lights, cold plunge, sheets, towels, pretty much whatever you're looking for. It's all there. The price list is right on the site. Plus, you can sign up for my newsletter to stay in the know. P.S. I hesitated to say this today, but I'm going to. I'm feeling festive, feeling feisty. I've been known to give away saunas. If you've known me for a while, you know I like to just give away. Everyone has a sauna. You get a sauna. You get a sauna. Everyone gets a sauna. So if you want to be in the inner circle know on when that glorious event may happen, definitely get on my newsletter list. It will not be aired out publicly, that's for sure. And tell your friends and family that need to know this to get on my list too. So 2025 is going to be a wild ride, my friends, and I have a few really fun surprises in store. All right, enough of the teasers. Let's dive in. Today is going to be a deep conversation with my dear friend and professional trainer, Allie McWilliams. Allie is honestly one of the sweetest women I know and quite literally a ball of beauty inside and out. Once you see her, you will know exactly what I mean. She's a gorgeous dose of light and love, all wrapped up in a sweet smile, a huge heart, and a sexy pair of glasses. She's a personal development coach, fitness trainer, and an unshakable optimist with over 30 years of experience and a whole lot of heart in everything she does. Fueled by a lifelong love of movement and a deep passion for empowering others, Allie has taken on many impactful roles throughout her fitness journey. She's been an instructor, trainer, business owner, life coach, and a mentor. Her mission in life is to help you thrive in your mind, body, and spirit, plus support you to build strength, health, and vibrancy from the inside out. Her overall purpose is fueled by a deep passion to live life to the absolute fullest. Amen to that, sister. Allie and I have known each other for many years, and she recently reached out to me to share an update about her personal health and a really low and tough time that she struggled through earlier this year. and how she pulled herself out of that gutter. She'll paint the picture for you in a few minutes, but basically, she was totally knocked down and out by perimenopause, hormone imbalance, massive inflammation, brain fog like no other, and the icing on the cake was long COVID. It was truly a recipe for disaster, and her mind and body paid a hefty price. She prayed every day, found a way to bounce back, and will walk us through that journey. So, without further ado, please welcome my dear friend, Allie McWilliams, to the show. Are you struggling with low energy, weight gain, hormonal imbalances, or heavy metal and mold toxicity? Do you want to learn more about anti-aging tips and creating more longevity in your life? Well, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jen Heller, a wellness educator, infrared sauna expert, and home health consultant. In this podcast, Homes That Heal, I will teach you how to transform your home into a health and wellness sanctuary. Your health is your wealth, and I believe that your home should be your sanctuary space, loaded with the tools you need to thrive in your life, not just survive. If you want to feel fantastic and transform your life and home, grab a pen, let's dive in and create a home that heals. Hey friends, welcome back to Homes That Heal. Today I am joined by my friend, Allie McWilliams. Allie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Yes, by the way, I don't think I told you this. I love your glasses.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was trying to decide which ones to wear today. I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me?
Those are the ones you should wear today. You had those on last time we chatted, and I don't know if I told you I love them, but I love them, and they look gorgeous with that red top too, by the way. It's like the perfect synergy. So
Thank you.
welcome, welcome. We are going to chat about a couple of things today. And I know we kind of rapid fired this in right before the holiday, but this is how we do things, right? That's just how we roll.
Yep.
I first just want to have you kind of walk me through how you stepped into the wellness world, the health and the wellness space. Oftentimes wellness finds people or people find wellness. So enlighten me a little bit about how your journey began.
Yeah, very organically. I was always an athlete growing up. And then when I moved to Madison to go to college, my roommate was a fitness instructor. And I didn't know that that even existed coming from a small town, and this was early 90s. And so I'm like, you can get paid to work out? I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah.
And so I signed up, and that was back in the day when, music sounded like chipmunks. We were just going a million miles an hour, and it was ridiculous now when we look back at it. And then it just evolved. Like I went to school for graphic design and worked in branding and advertising and print production and all that. But then I got to teach fitness classes on the side. And then all of a sudden, like years later, I met someone and we opened a gym in Madison. It was a women's only gym. And then I became, which I never thought, a business owner and then a personal trainer and group fitness and kind of did the whole thing. In 2007 and 2008 is when we opened it and the big housing crash.
Yep.
So being that we just had women and not men, we just couldn't keep it afloat. And so then that's when we shut that down and I just started my own. So I was able to train out of my home studio and then rent studio space to keep teaching fitness classes. And then it evolved into I had a client who she lost 100 pounds before she came to our gym, and then another 100 pounds training and doing classes. And so as she was focusing on the external, her whole world around her was crumbling. And so then I was realizing, like we had her in Health Magazine and like Shape Magazine, and she got all this attention, but I just realized there was more to it, right? It was so externally focused that I'm like, there has to be more. And so my friend then introduced me to coaching. So I got certified as a Christian life coach because it's just naturally my gifts and personality type to coach and inspire. And that was a new word back then, was life coaching. And so then I became a certified life coach, and then no one was doing that. I was trying to figure out, how do I blend fitness and training and life coaching and the spiritual part? And so I just kind of figured it out on my own. And like it's just grown. And now I actually do more like personal development, spiritual growth coaching than I do even personal training anymore. Cause the outside's great, but the mind and the heart and the spiritual journey, if you don't have that solid, the external doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I couldn't agree more. And I mean, the old saying, like, we glow from the inside out,
Mm,
right? I mean, we want to work on the physical, we want to tone and we want to feel good in our skin. For me, my vision that I read every morning is like, I want to feel good in my skin and in my clothes, right? I don't really care what the measure of gravity tells me on my scale. I haven't
mm,
stood on it for a long time. If I'm working against with something, I might, like, oh, let's just see where I'm at. I have an in-body machine that can tell me the different metrics. However, I have not relied upon that as the measure of my success for many years because just as you just so eloquently described, I could look fabulous in my skinny jeans and be a complete nightmare and mess and chaos internally. So
mhm,
this is so interesting. This is I think the weave that a lot of us coaches or a lot of us in this world that have been in the wellness space have been navigating for a while. It's like different things have changed along the way, and dealing with the more inner piece
mm,
allows us and gives us the strength to crush the goals or manage to fit the fitness into our life because we're good on the inside. Like, oh,
mm,
I feel really good today. I'm going to get outside and go for a walk because I just feel fantastic, right? I'm curious, and maybe you don't know this. I know I'm throwing you on the spot here, but I literally was in goosebumps when you were talking about you realize this. Like, can you remember when you were working in, like, the fitness, the physical piece of it? Like, was it this one woman that you're talking about that you really just discovered there's way more to this? Like, what was it exactly? And the reason why I'm asking this is because it kind of weaves into our gut intuition
mm.
conversation about when are we going to listen to that? You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, when did your gut intuition finally get your
Mm.
attention? And then from there, what did you do? Where did you pivot to? Or like, how did it change the course of the business?
Yeah, good question. No one's ever asked me that before. It's a good job, coach.
I know. I know. Like I said, when you said that, it was just total goosebumps all over my body because I remember feeling that way as when I
Mm,
stepped away from weight loss coaching back in
mm,
2017, I think it was. And I remember distinctly coming back. I was in Canada for a ladies' retreat, for a 3-day ladies' retreat. And I remember coming home on the plane after 3 days of spending with those women about, like, what is this really about? Like, we're teaching wellness and all the things, but I felt I was going down the wrong path. I was worried
mm,
about external and not weaving in the internal components enough. So I came back. I wrote an email. I wrote a blog announcement to my current clients and my community at that time and said, I'm not doing weight loss coaching anymore, and here's why. Like, it was just like a
good.
done. So, and I'm asking you is like, just from, one business owner to the next, like, you
Mhm,
have to make hard decisions sometimes. You got to pivot when
mhm,
these things come in from the higher power or God. For me, it's like I pray on it, I meditate, I ask, but having the courage to go into action with those
mhm.
questions when you get the answers. So I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, for me, it's a few things. I remember having a consult with somebody at the gym that I was co-owning, and this is one person. She was like, "I'm looking at women who are heavier than me but are happier, and that's what I want. I want to be
Oh,
content and happy within, and I actually look better than her."
yep.
So that was one. And then it
There
was
it
the
is.
client who lost 200 pounds and all the external work, but yet just all the life choices that she made. I'm like, and even myself, right? I focused on the external and having low body fat, and like it was never enough for any of us in any
Right.
capacity. So I think it all just came together at that head. During that time of having that gym for a couple of years, it was like listening to women and then my personal experience of like, it's just never enough. You can't be not lean enough. You can't win enough Ironmans. It's never enough when it's external. And so
Right.
then that's when, like you said, then I got introduced to life coaching. And then it was like, no one's doing this. How do I do this? It is hard and it is scary when you're like doing things that no one else is doing. And you got to just figure it out.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're figuring it out. I can definitely resonate and relate. I mean, my story. When I had the stroke, I was in, like, physically, I was in the best shape of my life, right? I was lean. I was like a size zero. I felt fabulous in everything I put on. But boy, was I a chaotic mess. It was like a toxic soup of things happening in the kind of the perfect storm. I mean, like the concussion, like all these different things kind of played a factor. in the body basically saying no thank you, and that check engine light, like hitting me upside the head. But on the external, I was in pretty peak condition, right? But I knew damn well when I stopped, I didn't realize how fast I was going and how hard I was beating on my body. The MMA, the kickboxing, the 8 to 10 miles a day, like running, like the constant feeling like, how am I going to maintain this? Like, I need to do this. I need to do this. I did not realize how fast and hard I was moving until I was like, literally, God stopped me in my tracks, right? And then from there, fast forward over 10 years, the lesson that has come from that for me is that I was being way too hard on my body and on my mind and on myself. And so that's really what you and I want to talk about. Like, I mean, outside of a thousand
Mhm.
other things, like that's what our conversations always come back to is how can we do this in a more thoughtful, heart-centered way, be
Mm.
kind to ourselves, and what does that look like? So,
You crush that in the sense of way too hard on our bodies, right? Like I think about all the things I was doing the right way and thinking I was taking care of my body, right? Like eating protein and getting sleep and water, and you're exercising and you're thinking you're doing all these things that are good for you. And and you're not. Like you're actually overtraining, you're overdoing it. You're not listening to your body at all. You're just doing what the industry or what you think you should be doing. A lot of shitting on yourself instead of how do I feel today? What should
right.
I do today? Should I go for a walk? That was never a concept ever.
Oh, no. No, walking in my mindset at that point was like weak, or was like, "That's not enough. That's not gonna shred the fat. That's not gonna keep my booty tight." Like, what would walking do?
Mhm.
Maybe I'd actually enjoy myself. No, I did enjoy working out, don't get me wrong. I
Me
enjoy the
too.
burn. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I like high vibe activities. I love all that. But I think the cortisol levels were just at max
Mm.
peak, right? There's
Yeah.
only so much the body can manage. And, I have a much clearer picture of it now. Looking back on it, it's like, boy, I had a lot of warning signs. Like internally, I had a lot of things going on that I could have put the brakes on
Mhm.
sooner, and I didn't. And so that's really what I love talking about and what I know you're super passionate about educating on and why you do what you do. One of the main reasons that I wanted to have this conversation is to introduce people to something that you just introduced to me recently. I know, super excited. And that's the B3 bands. Give me the 30-foot overview of what this is. Walk the listeners through what these are, how they work
Mm.
with the body, and why these are so incredibly game changing for
Mm.
your body, mind, and soul and your total routine.
I feel very honored that I got to introduce you to something. That's very exciting.
Well,
I'm like, yeah, baby. So, B3 blood flow restriction bands. So, it's a huge paradigm shift for any of us in the fitness world or fitness fanatics. Is you put these cuffs on your arms and then also on your legs, and they restrict blood flow during the workout. And your brain is thinking that you're having a high intense workout. So it thinks that you're lifting really heavy weights or doing a hit training. And then it releases growth hormone and nitric oxide in the body. So what's great is the old fashioned way of, no pain, no gain, tearing your muscle down and then resting to recover. We no longer have to train that way. There's a new way to train. And so you're not sore, you're not recovering anymore because you're not tearing the muscle down. And so it's so fantastic, especially for us women 40 on up. You start to not to want to lift really heavy or it doesn't feel good anymore on the joints. Well, now you can lift a quarter to a half the weight that you normally did with these bands on and get the same results and even better results because what I didn't know is like you were talking about when you exercise, no one really talked to us about how much cortisol and how stressful exercise is on the body. So if you're already stressed out in life and then you're doing hit workouts, that's a lot of cortisol. What's great about the bands, and when you do have cortisol, growth hormone can't go at the same time. So I don't even know how much we all were getting out of our workouts if we were at high cortisol. But you put the bands on, there's no cortisol. It's all growth hormone. So you get all the benefits of growth hormone. And then I didn't even know anything about nitric oxide until these B3 bands. which that's your body's natural painkiller. That's what improves your blood flow and circulation, your brain health. It is incredible. And so all of a sudden, your 40-minute workout can be a 10-minute workout. So it's not only great for people who are super busy and want efficiency and effective. Like if you want to be effective and efficient, like this is your jam. You can add it to your workout. It doesn't have to be the only way. Lots of different ways to use them is number one, immune health. I got into because I had long COVID. I was in the pit of hell and I was in bed. I used them to get an immune boost and get healthy. So you're immune. If you're injured, this is where they started in Japan. The guy who designed them broke his leg, healed in half the time. So they are used in PT. Then athletes, the pro athletes are using them. They're slowly getting into colleges now. Athletes and the performance and all that. People who are in their 60s and 70s can now build bone density and muscle mass. We couldn't do that before, let alone it was so painful. Kids can use them to 100-year-olds. So it's so great. Like this time of year, it's like you can get in them to boost your immune system. You can get in them to build muscle. Some people get them for the rehab and then they forget, like, oh my gosh, I should use them for a workout. I should use them to improve my immune system during the holidays. None of my clients want to go back to the old way of training. It's too efficient and effective, and they're not in pain anymore. They don't have to recover. They're not sore after a hard workout that's 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah, I tried these obviously, and we're going to come back to it. But one of the things that I want to ask you about, and I know that you and I've had quite a bit of conversation on, you mentioned it, but I want to touch on it a little bit is we've been connected for years in a variety of ways. But then you just randomly messaged me one day when we talked originally, we jumped on our Zoom. You walked me through this long COVID thing and this period of
Mm,
your life. Like it took you down, like you were down. And what's
yeah.
interesting and what resonated with me is that again, anybody who works in the health and wellness world, subconsciously, I think like I need to be perfect all the time. Like I need to be
Mm,
well. That was the big shame that I lived behind when I had the stroke was like, holy cow, how does this happen to somebody who's working in the health and wellness field? Right.
yeah.
So my heart just like completely cracked open when you and I first talked about this because I know this period of your life was so difficult, as
Hmm.
well as this was kind of I don't want to say the answer or whatever, but it really
Hmm.
kind of resurrected you in and out of bed, like literally, and back into your rhythm. So everybody knows, I think, what long COVID is, but what were you experiencing at that time? And then once you started using these, how did you physically feel when you started using the bands or
Mm.
just started
And
this movement again?
thank you for your kindness and compassion. And you're right. This has been everyone's like, how can you have long COVID? You're the healthiest person. Like, I can't do more exercise. I can't eat cleaner. I have like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't do any more things in
Right.
life. Right. So thank you for that. Yeah. Pit of hell this year, like pit of hell, like worst year of my life, hands down. I was just the perfect storm a year ago. Hormones were dropping at the end of perimenopause and I got COVID, just kept getting sick. And then I did some workouts that weren't right for my body, some HIIT workouts, and I just stayed in the pit of hell. Everybody's long COVID symptoms are different, and they can't really still tell which ones are COVID and which ones are perimenopause because they're very similar. But mine was feeling like I was having a heart attack. Like I would get up in the middle of the night, I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was having a heart attack, but I knew I wasn't, and I felt like I was going to pass out. And so I spent majority of 3 months in bed because it took every ounce I had just to get to the bathroom to go to the bathroom. And so what happened is when your hormones drop in perimenopause, that's stressful in the body. And then when you're sick for so long, it's even more stressful. And so my nervous system crashed. Like I had to look in bed to eat a meal because you don't realize how great your body is and what it does for you. Like just to break down a meal, I couldn't even sit at a table and eat a meal. I had to lay down because it was so much work to break it down and took so much energy, and I had none of it. And so going through all of that, I found, thank God, a doctor here that deals with COVID and long COVID and other things. And that was really helpful. And I was doing hyperbaric oxygen chamber and all of that. But then my friend, Dr. Wade, who he's been a good friend of mine for over 20 years. And because we're such similar people, and so wanting people to be their healthiest, best selves, he's like, you got to get the bands. You just need to get in these bands because he started using them. And I had no capacity to even get on the computer to order them. Like, Dude, I wasn't brushing my teeth or taking, like, it was like living hell. And so literally just trying to get through my days and prayed to go to bed at night because that's thank God I could sleep. Finally, when I started feeling better from going to my doctor, I ordered the bands. And I think it's so interesting because I don't come into this now from a place of strength. Like, I'm this fit professional and you should use these bands. I get to come in from a place of weakness of, wow, I could only use them for a minute. My body, I had to use them as a rehab. I could get into the leg bands. The arms were too stressful for my nervous system to even deal with. Just put in the leg bands, do a wall sit, be in them for 1 to 2 minutes is all I could. And then my hard part with the bands is they elevate your heart rate right away and get you hot right away. I can't have my heart rate up. And so when I was having really bad heart palps, I would just lay in bed and put the bands on because I knew they were good for you and just do leg lifts or bring my knee, just get in the bands because blood flow, when you realize all your nutrients are in your blood and you can get blood to areas that probably haven't been there since I was 25, everything starts to wake up. And then that's when, like, even my friends are like, "Ooh, turning point, you sound better. Your voice is coming back." Like, I couldn't have these conversations before. Like, my voice was trashed from COVID. Like, they could tell, like, after 30 days, after 60, after 90, it's like my immune system, because of all the studies done on blood flow restriction, your immune system is increased by 162% because of the nitric oxide. So it's like, number one immune booster is get in your bands. Like, whenever my clients are sick, I'm like, did you get in your bands today? Get in your bands. Like, get in your bands, get in your bands. That's always my saying, get in your
Just
bands.
have a shirt that just says "Get in your bands." Are you in your bands? I'm just gonna walk around at the grocery store with my bands on.
Exactly. So, and that was my next one. And it just started to, when you ask how I feel, is like within 9 or 10 weeks, it's like I had major, major brain fog to the point where my husband's like, "Do you know you left all the doors unlocked? Do you know?" Yep. Thank you for your patience and grace. Like, my brain, with even before long COVID, just perimenopause brain and inflammation, my legs felt like they weighed 100 pounds. My brain was like, he's like, "Are you safe to drive?" I'm like, I don't know. Probably not. My brain was like, I had no marbles in this head. Like, I was, oh, baby, Jesus, like, help me. I was not all there. My brain fog and my inflammation just from the bands took it all away. So, let alone all these other things, I started sleeping better. I was waking up more refreshed and renewed. I had more energy. Um, yeah, and there's tons of other things, but yeah, it brought my immune system back.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all that. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, walk you through that path. I
Oh
know you've
no.
already shared that with me, but I feel like it was really important that we paint
Yeah.
this picture of like really what the hell was going on here. Like, this was not just like, oh, I'm feeling a little out of sorts. This
No.
was, I'm in my bed and I don't know if I'm ever getting out. Like,
Yep.
this is serious. And again, I resonated so much with when we first talked about this because I was like, not the same situation, of course, but like, you're so distraught. You
Mm,
don't even, I was physically paralyzed, but what was more paralyzing to me was my mind was so unsure and unclear. Like, where do I go from here? What in the heck? How do I put this back together? I know the body has the innate ability to heal itself. However, it's like, what am I going to do? You mentioned the oxygen chamber. For me, that was mentioned to me by a couple of practitioners. Like, the body just needs oxygen, it needs life. You need to get life back into your body. And so, just taking these steps and steps, little steps forward. And to your point, like 1 minute workout, fabulous, right? Like, at least you're doing something, at least you're
yeah.
sending the signal to the body that you're ready to start the restorative process, and it just started responding. So, as we said earlier, you call me, you're like, "Jen, I've got this really cool thing I think you should know." And I'm so grateful for you, by the way, for
Yeah.
knowing my circumstance or knowing my story and condition, and just us, hadn't spoken in a few years, really.
Mhm.
And you just send me this random message, like God and stars aligned, of course, but you reaching out to who can I help? Like, who would
Yeah.
this help? Right.
Yeah.
And so when you first sent it to me, I was like, interesting. Okay. I'm a visual and an experienced person. Like, I need to see this thing. I need to touch this thing. I need to try this thing. And you're like, oh, there just happens to be an event going on. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to go in with an open mind because I trust you. Obviously, you wouldn't just send me some gimmicky thing. I never believed that. But I also know that I've had serious limitations on the left side of my body for a very long time. And for me, I haven't been in the gym, so to speak, for a long time because I don't lift heavy things. I don't want to lift heavy things. I personally don't want to put my body through a heavy, hard workout anymore. I've enjoyed the yoga, the Pilates, the more restorative movements, bands, different things. So I thought, this is perfect. Let's go see what happens. Which is why I feel like we just like slung into this show today.
We
Like
did.
we need to record this while it's fresh. So I went to the event, put the bands on, and two things came up within the first few minutes. I went into a squat motion and a movement that is very routine, but I normally have some restriction on the left side in the form of range of motion, meaning my left arm and my left hand and my left wrist, like everything doesn't work and function the same because of the muscle atrophy and from the paralysis. Dr. Wade does a beautiful job of explaining everything. It all makes sense to me. The human growth hormone, like I understand all that. Anybody who has ever heard of the HC2G or whatever that movement, if you will, or all of that,
Mhm.
understanding how the body ticks and burns fat and also releases the nitric oxide. Within a minute of putting these bands on, lifting on my left arm, it was like unbelievable. I felt symmetrical, like meaning I
Mhm.
didn't have the range of motion issue on the left side. And Wade actually, because I had told him, about I know. I had told him what my typical situation and what the challenges are. And as soon as I started with the motion of it, he looked at me and he goes, that looks really good. I go, I know, it's really good. I'm also blown away over here, but this is really great. The best way I could describe it is I could literally feel what I would call life force energy
Mm.
moving down my left arm like I'd never felt it before, which allowed me to have a very symmetrical range of motion on both sides. And so we did that movement, I think, for about a minute to 90 seconds. He was timing everything. And I thought for sure, like, I would burn out. I could feel the burn, the enjoyable burn that you want to achieve when you're working out. You want to feel like you're doing, but it didn't fatigue and it didn't tax my body, which was another thing. It was like, holy shit. Sorry, excuse my language. Like, but that's because I know how my body feels when I do these motions, and it wasn't the same. It was very symmetrical, like it was getting everything it needed. It felt fantastic. So then the 90 seconds is up, and I'm like, huh, okay. I was there with two of my girlfriends, Carrie and Carrie. Carrie's looking at me. She knows my story. She's like, how you feeling? I go, fantastic. Like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, all right, now you've got my attention. I'm interested
Mhm.
now, right? Like you've gotten me over the gimmick hump, so to
Mhm.
speak. And we ended up going through a series of about, I think it was maybe 14, 15 minutes in total of
Mm.
some different incremental movements. And the second, and everything was great. Like we did some wall sits, we did some things, and I felt the burn, like you're burning. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be fabulous to get my booty in shape, right? So
Yep.
you can feel the burn of the body saying, like, this is a fabulous workout. But again, the second awareness that came to me was that oftentimes when I do movements, the best way I can describe it is like a Charlie horse feeling. Like, when you're fatiguing and you're like, oh, I got to step, you got to like extend your arm or extend your leg and you got to like reset. That happens to me often when I'm doing movements, even when I'm doing yoga. Like, I often have to like stop and stretch my leg or my arm. It didn't happen. I didn't get that feeling of like I needed to extend my arms or my legs or my limbs. And I literally was like 3 or 4 minutes into this going, "Holy cow." I could feel the
Mm.
difference in how this would actually have an impact on your body and the blood flow restriction. And for me or for somebody with a stroke, that's everything, right? It's the blood
Amen.
flow, like the restriction to the extremities and the left hand movement, that I'm still working on the motor function. I could feel like a rush of energy into my left
Mm.
hand. I mean, at one point I know Carrie saw it. I don't know if Dr. Wade saw it. Carrie looked at me and I was in tears.
Aw, I love it.
Yeah, because and yeah, it makes me emotional because I remember standing there thinking like, when you don't have feeling in a area of your body, in your brain, you
Mhm.
can send the signal to your brain and like go move, like you want it to move. When you
Mhm.
want something so bad, but the body doesn't respond, and then all of
Yep.
a sudden it does, I can't describe it. Like, obviously, you can see I'm extremely emotional for anybody that's just listening. Like, this is everything to somebody who has had surgeries or maybe has an accident or maybe has some
Mhm.
serious limitations or like me, a stroke or some sort of incident that has completely taken you out at the knees, literally. And you want to do things, you want to restore your body, but you physically can't. So the function was gone. So this was like a light bulb for me. So as
Mm.
you know, my bands are on the way as we're recording this. By the time people are listening, I will already be a couple of weeks into my daily routine because, as you know, Homes That Heal is all about bringing these things into
Mm.
my home and bringing these things closest to our lives so that we have access to them and can do them. And this is easy, right? Like, this is literally standing anywhere in your home,
Yep.
doing 10, 12, 15 minutes of movement and getting the benefits of a true workout, but also building that bone density,
Yep.
oxygenating the body. I felt fabulous the next day, by the way. And I know I'm
Good.
hijacking this whole conversation right now, but I wanted to share this experience because not a lot of things grab my attention like this. There are
Mhm.
life changing things, there are experiences,
Mhm.
and then there's something that really grabs you and says, this is in
Mhm.
alignment. This is the way. And it also checks the boxes for me to not have to feel like I need to get back in the gym or get back into the MMA. Like, I can be gentler on my body,
Yep.
smarter. And
Yep.
also, I'm 43. So as I enter into these next phase of our life, it's like, I know I have access to these things and I can
Mm.
use them to build a stronger body. So thank you for listening to all that. But I just had to share that. And I know I've shared it with you before too, but I'm so excited. Like, I'm so freaking excited.
For me, like you said, even people with physical limitations, those of us who have such immune compromise too, like that's what it did for me. And so for me, it's like, I just want to give hope back in people's bodies. And so it was so interesting how God worked, where I was like, I'm never on Facebook or social media much. And I was like, who would this help? And I just remember, I was like, I don't know if you posted something or I don't know how your name just came up. And I just was like, hey, because I know that you're in your health and wellness thing, but I didn't realize that you had a stroke until we talked. And then I'm like, oh, I wonder what these would do for you. So I love, like you said, you could feel it right away. That nitric oxide, I'm sure just lit your body up. And then that
Yeah.
you felt it. Like, I love that you're aware of your body so you could be in tune because, only if you're aware do you really notice. And then that you felt so good after that great boost, and then you felt better the next day. Like, people end up sleeping better and feeling better, and some people even go off their caffeine. When you're getting all that blood flow and that nitric oxide, you don't need to
It
tap
was,
in from anything on the outside. Yeah.
yeah, very stimulating. But then it also kind of like going back to what we were talking about before about the inner feeling
Mm.
versus to the external result, right? That inner feeling, immediately, I was like clear. In fact, at one point I had sat down because in Dr. Wade's area where we worked out, he has some of his adjustment tables there. I kind of propped up and sat down and I think he was like, "Are you okay?" And I
Mhm.
sat down, I was like, "I am fantastic. I feel electric, right?" Like, I feel alive. And Carrie, she had said she'd been struggling with shoulder pain for many months. She looked at me, she's like, "My shoulder feels great right now." She's like, "I haven't had this kind of relief in months." And Wade was like, "Really?" I think he was even surprised. I mean, not surprised, but he was like, you know, we're experiencing these things like, within minutes of starting this blood flow and starting this activity. And it was just fantastic. You probably maybe saw that post I shared recently about when I was in Banff about climbing the mountain
Mhm.
or whatever. Like, cause I think it was shortly after that, maybe I'm not sure, but I don't share a ton. Like, I'm not a huge social media person either, but there's some things that changed my life. And I'm in
Mhm.
this wellness world because I want to impact people. I want to be a catalyst and a bright light to help people weave and get where they need to go. And this is why I feel so strongly about sharing these types of things and bringing these modalities into your home so that you can change your life and you're not at the mercy of going somewhere. You're not at the mercy of an appointment somewhere. I
Mhm.
know that the B3, I'm just getting started with it. So there's coaching, there's online classes, there's different things you can do. I'm going to dig into that a little bit. I also have my own routines that I'm excited to just do with the bands to see how I feel and to see the benefits of it. But yeah, even the next day, I woke up and I felt like, of course, I didn't like lose weight because I don't really step on a scale, but I felt leaner. Like I felt like I had done
Mm.
something, and we did like a 14-minute workout and it wasn't even that
Mhm.
hard. We took some breaks in between. It wasn't even that challenging, but the body responded so
Amen.
beautifully.
That is, and that's what I love about it too, is it's tapping into something that's already there. So we're not taking a supplement. It's not a membership thing. You buy them and you just get to tap into something that's already there. And I have a client who her migraines have been cut in half. I have a friend who her thyroid meds, she's like, I keep going in and they need to lower it. Like it's just fascinating hearing all these studies, like my own case studies with my own people. My husband, he uses the bands 3 times a week. He plays tennis and karate. And because wherever your asset is, like his biceps are his asset. But I mean, he's 57. His arms are like he did when he played college football. I've never seen his arms look like this. And it's 10 minutes 3 times a week. So it's just so neat to see how it's helping people. And I have a friend who her cycle is better. Because she was getting so much cramping and blood clotting and all that, it's really helped balance out that. So I can't tell people how it's going to help them. I just know it will.
Right. Yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. And thank you for sharing some of the other stories too, because I think that resonates with other people. Like, how can this work? And I know you and I've talked a lot about like women's hormones and like different ways that our
Mhm.
bodies, certain times of the month, we should be gentler on ourselves. We should
Yes.
take that bath. We should get down on the floor and just do some stretching and some light movement versus a hit workout or whatever it is that you think you need to
Mhm.
do. And that's the season I'm in is working with
Mhm.
my body and working with circadian rhythms and the cycles and the primal life. And that's why I'm so excited about this because it's going to work so beautifully with, I think, the bigger conversation that I think people are having
Mhm.
about taking better care of themselves and spending less time beating ourselves up and more time doing things that feel good and bring us joy
Mhm.
and are a little bit more in alignment. So I'm trying to think in my head right now when this is going to air, and you can find information on my site about it when this airs. But I know we plan to do a follow up next month after I've experienced them for a bit, because again, I want to do a case study. I want to do a little bit of a trial to see how it works and test some function. I know you've got a really great chart that you sent to me via email. Thank you for that, because there are some measurable ways that you can track the
Mhm.
benefits of this in a number of different ways. And so I'm going to use that and then come back to everybody on the magic that has happened. So anything else that you want to share? Obviously, please let everyone know where they can find and connect with you for more information. I know there will be a link on the Gen Recommends page for these B3 bands. They click on it, they can get to the information as well as to you. So, where is the best way for everyone to connect with you?
My website is AlimcWilliams.com. That's AlimcWilliams.com. Just everything's there.
That's awesome. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I think what's also great about the bands too is it's great for people who don't like to work out. So like our son is a creative and is in the film industry and lives in LA, and he's your skateboarder and your longboarder and snowboarder and water skier. And so he tried the bands when he was here and he's like, "Whoa." Like not being an athlete, people don't get why us who are addicted to the high, the runner's high, he's never experienced that and he's like, "Whoa." So he gets his big brain buzz, which is all the nitric oxide. And so for him, he bought the bands and he does a little work on the morning to feel better, to get his
Yes.
brain going. So it's so great because there's people who don't even like to work out and they're just walking in them, and then there's people like our son who's not a huge gym person. And what's also great about the bands is if you just wear the leg ones, it's systemic. So you get the benefit all over. So people that wore them for like 7 weeks and just on their legs had muscles on their arms. And it's a cardio and it's a strength. So it's a really big paradigm shift of if you just wore the bands and did cardio, you're still going to build muscle. If you just wore the bands and lifted weights, your cardiovascular system's still going to improve. So it's a huge my industry is really shifting, but this is why the pro athletes are using them, and the Olympians is this is how they're getting faster and training better. But this is when they get injured, and I'm like, how are they getting on the field so fast besides being injected? Well, now I know why my Kansas City Chiefs here, my Mahomes is getting on the field so fast because they use B3 bands. And
Yeah.
so, it's really interesting to just see that this is how they're rehabbing quickly
It is
and
interesting.
naturally.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
is interesting. And as you know, I shared with you, I work a lot with the
Mm,
pro athlete industry, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. And I've got a couple of pro trainers that I've worked with for many years in and around the sauna business, but very connected with them. They're fantastic. And I reached out to every single one of them and asked because I'm like, they would know, right? They would also know. Because again, I like to check resources and figure out like, what is this? Every single one of them was like, "Oh yeah, B3 bands. Like we've been using those for years." He's like, "They're game changer. They're fabulous." And I was like, "Wait, what the hell? Why hasn't anybody told me about this before?" In fact, one of the guys, he's got a huge facility and works a ton with the pros out in California, and a lot of my athletes train is out there. He's like, "Yeah, I got a whole thing on my website about it because I was sick of explaining it to everyone." So he's like, "I put a whole page on my site just so that people could see what it is, how
mhm.
they work and why they work, the science behind it." So I was like, "Okay, check." Check, right? Like that checks out. I
Yeah.
mean, to your point, this is how the pros are resting, restoring, recovering, and getting back out there quickly because they can't afford to be sitting around and nursing things at a slow rate. And so, not that we need to speed things up and go faster all the time. However, it's bringing body back into alignment and working with our body instead of against it. So, I am
Amen.
so grateful to you. You have no idea. I am just over the moon about these. I am so grateful to
Oh,
you and introducing these to me and just us reconnecting too has just been so delightful and fun and beautiful. So thank you for all of your time and energy. And I have no doubt that anyone who's looking to connect will find you, find their way to you. So thank you.
thank you. And I can't wait to hear all of your success stories, your 30-day and 60-day and 90 days. Like that'll be so fun.
Oh yeah, we'll be shouting it from the rooftops. It won't be hidden. I'll share it on socials and it'll definitely we're gonna do another show on it for sure, probably next month in January as well. Cause I just think people kind of get into the rhythm. The winter months is when people like to do things indoors too, having things accessible indoors, but also the new year stuff. So
Mhm.
we will chat soon, girl. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
What an interesting conversation, right? Isn't Allie's energy and her grace and beauty just so contagious? She absolutely is inspiring and motivating. And I just love her light and energy and her passion to help other women, help other people just find themselves and get back into alignment. I know my head was reeling when I first heard about blood flow restriction bands, and honestly, I wasn't sure how it would work or how my body in particular would respond. But seriously, you guys, it was amazing. And I can't wait to see where my strength and fitness is in a few weeks and months. I felt a shift in literally one day. So the thought of using them daily or a few times a week for just 10 to 15 minutes in the comfort of my home, yes, please. Obviously, I'll keep you posted, and we already have Dr. Wade on deck and scheduled for our follow-up call in 30 days. So I can't wait to share and stay tuned for that in January. Okay, friends, we just have one more show before we take a break for the holidays. And I just want to extend my deepest gratitude to you for a beautiful and abundant 2024. Seriously, this year has been one for the books and one of the most interesting of my life. And I am so incredibly grateful. I'm grateful for you, this show, the amazing team that is listening and editing this show and is getting it on the airwaves for us every week, the Jen Heller High Vibe Tribe, and overall just all the amazing people in my life. I have the coolest friends, the most supportive family, and I get to live this epic journey. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in each week, sharing your feedback, writing the show a review, joining my community, sharing my site and the show with your friends and family, all of it. I'm blown away every single day by the love and the support, and I absolutely live in gratitude for it every day. So thank you. Please do me a favor this week, though. Choose at least 2 people to call or text to let them know you are genuinely grateful for them and why you appreciate them in your life. It's the season for giving, my friends, and after the year we've all lived through, I think we can all agree that the real gifts aren't wrapped in boxes under the tree. It's our health, it's our freedom, and it's our friends, family, and neighbors. Please take a few minutes to tell them you love and appreciate them. All right, friends, cheers to you and your health and happiness, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple and Spotify. This helps me expand my reach to other health and wellness enthusiasts. If you're interested in purchasing a clear light sauna, have a topic request, or just want to connect with me, please head over to my site, jenhellerlifestyle.com.